There you go.
Let's try. Let's try.
Okay, you ready?
You say something?
Yeah, this is me saying something. Saying something. There you go. Hmm.
Can I make
Yeah,
some?
go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? You're not falling asleep yet, right? All right. Good for you. But just in case someone, fell asleep, please do us a favor. Don't snore, okay? Anyway, according to the schedule, we will have at 4:30. We will have the presidential welcome. Unfortunately, our president is sick. He's down with some sort of flu or cold. He locked both of his doors, so no one could get in. So it's mean that seriously sick. So, uh, huh? No, I didn't try to win. Though. It's too dangerous for me. Anyway, so hopefully we can offer to him a prayer. Um, so instead, so on behalf of the president, I would like again officially welcome all of you to our celebration, first of 150th anniversary of our SVDs. And I believe that once an SVD, always an SVD, right? And how appropriate to celebrate that milestone with a very meaningful sharing of whom I will introduce to you. This young man, right? They really, oh, here comes the president. Wow, he's awake. Okay, right, let's welcome for the president. Our prayers work. Wow, here comes the welcome officially.
This is a long speech. Get ready, okay? Welcome. I'm sorry I've missed most of the day for you. I don't know who gave me a cold last night over at the over down at the river, but was probably you. Was it Walter? Anyway, I don't want to spread it any further than necessary. I want to say one or two words. Two most important words, I think, for a missionary are always the first one is the invitation. Come, come, join us. And the second one, after the person shows up, to make certain that you make them feel welcome. Those are the first two steps always of every missionary activity. When I think about mission now, as compared to maybe we were still thinking about it when I first came to Divine Word College in 1972, I think it was. The church and certainly the society had not fully moved away from its understanding of mission as essentially geographic. That it almost seemed like a missionary was one that got on an airplane. And generations before that, they got on a boat, all the way back to Paul. But in fact, mission is not, and really never has been, mostly a geographic consideration. Do you notice upstairs outside the library, there's a big old mural there that we moved up there a little while ago. mostly because I hated it. I didn't mind the artistry of it, but there were 2 or 3 things that set the wrong idea about mission. One is all the missionaries are white, and all those who are being missioned to are dark-skinned. This sounds more like colonialism than mission to me. And of course, it's always either in Africa or Papua New Guinea or someplace else, but never in the south of the United States, where we have a kind of a glorious history for opening up the church in the Americas to African Americans. Happily now, we have a very different understanding and approach to missionary activity. Divine Word missionaries principally think about it as missionary situations. I like to think of it even better as who are you inviting and who are you welcoming? Divine Word missionaries focus on 4 groups, and wherever they are in the world, these are important groups to keep in contact with. First, faith seekers, the one that is sometimes the most nebulous for some people to think about, but it's really very concrete. You're looking for people when they're in that moment in their life when they kind of get an idea that there's something going on in me. There's a bigger purpose in life. There's a crisis, perhaps, that brings it all to the surface. A lot of times, they're in moments of change. For instance, the one that I like best, the birth of a first baby. I know that one time my brother-in-law, who wasn't a great churchgoer, but a very good man, we were once thinking about sharing stories with how we thought God was and when did we experience God. And it may have been aided and abetted with a couple of 6-packs of Busch Light. In any case, out on the back patio, and I was telling him I felt God's presence very early in my life. And then he said something that has stuck with me a long time. He says, my whole life changed when I saw my son in my arms for the first time, because that changed everything about what his life and purpose was supposed to be. That's a moment for faith seekers, but there are others as well. Sometimes now I think my sister and brother-in-law, who are very much churchgoers, still are searching faith right now. Their last 5th is away to college now, and they have an empty nest. I'll bet they're watching the Iowa Cyclones beat up on South Dakota, wondering, is he there? Is he there in the crowd? But as their life changes now, they will reorient the way that their life and being and hopes and prayer all move. Now they're moving into heavy grandpa and grandma age, okay? There are a few here, aren't there? How does it feel to look at your own grandchild for the first time? That must be a different thing too, isn't it? And then further on, there's also the time when you begin to take much more personal understanding that our time here is limited and that we're going to die. Maybe with the death of a sibling, maybe it's parents, but maybe especially death of a sibling, we take it much more seriously. And then we say, it's not just an idea here, it's a change of the whole person. And if we talk about it with someone, sometimes it can reorient us more profoundly onto the path of the kingdom. In prison, there are situations. I think SVDs here at Divine Word College especially focus on going out to the retirement centers to celebrate Mass. There are like 9, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 9 on our list of retirement centers where we celebrate Mass regularly. We get to know the people, and even without explicit talk about God, though we're in Mass, you can get to know someone and know that something is happening with them as they move deeper and deeper into their retirement. And I think it's excellent that we as Divine Word missionaries here focus in particular on that group, because the pastors are really too busy to be able to get it. But there's a second group too, and that is people of many cultures reaching across cultural lines. That's what SVDs do everywhere and Holy Spirit sisters, and honestly, just about every other missionary in the United States too. SVD parishes are hugely focused now into accompanying migrants, immigrants or newly arrived or those for long term. From here at Divine Word College, we help out at Vietnamese parishes, at Spanish-speaking parishes, at a few French-speaking parishes because they're new immigrant communities from French-speaking Africa down in the Quad Cities and in Cedar Rapids. So there are a lot of interesting opportunities there. So reaching out across cultures, and if you're here and with our students, you can see that just living at Divine Word College is an exercise in intercultural living and outreach. The third group is with the poor and marginalized. There's nothing wrong with people that already have some cash, but they probably don't need our participation as much of those who are really on the edges of survival. And honestly, it's true, people who are poor and suffering have a more vibrant understanding and sometimes need for God as well. A lot of times our cash kind of anesthetizes us a little bit from how much we really do need God. And finally, we focus, the fourth one, on people of other religious traditions, whether other Christian traditions or perhaps people from no religious tradition at all, but Muslims, Buddhists, Jews who may be in our area. And in fact, even here in Dubuque, all of those groups are present. And we get opportunities to share some moments of common action together with them. The point of mission isn't where you are, it's who you're with. That's what mission is about. The advantage of this is it means that all of you, whether you are Divine Word missionaries or members of another religious organization, or that great number of Catholics, laity, that are 98.8% of the church, are also fully invited and involved in missionary activity when you take steps to reach out to others. And that's why, as we gather here with you again on alumni, we're glad that whatever bug infected you and your family at Divine Word College or the other schools, that it's still effective, or you wouldn't be here. And we're going to hear some stories in just a few minutes about how a bug affected a couple of guys that did have to get on an airplane to go someplace else, but nevertheless. Final thing. What is mission? My favorite definition from an Anglican minister from India. He said, mission is one beggar telling another beggar where there's bread. Mission is telling one beggar, telling another beggar where there's bread. That's what we try and do. Keep letting others know where there's opportunity to live life to the fullest. And I'm glad you are here with us because I am particularly proud of any missionary grandfathers or grandmothers that have come out of our years of training. And I encourage you to keep sharing good news with whoever you meet along the way. Welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Tom. And without further ado, I would like to introduce to you two of our speakers who have gone to Ukraine twice, last summer and this summer. And with them also came a couple of other friends, but they're not here today. So please welcome John Slabek and Walter Collins.
Dobry den. Hello. I'd like to teach you a little bit of Ukrainian before we start. It's very simple. Christo zi kami. Christo zi kami. Christ is here. Christ is with us. Christos is coming.
Cristo is coming.
Very good. Christ is here. Thank you, Diakio. All right, so we are going to start. We're talking about the English Summer School in Lviv at the Catholic University, University of Ukraine, the Catholic University of Ukraine. And in the English Summer School, all of the students are required to learn English. And so one of the things, it's up. Lenny's back there doing something. Okay, in English Summer School, one of the things that we are required to do is to help these English students learn how to speak English better. And so they have a 1 week or 2 week school where they are not allowed to speak Ukrainian, and that's what we're there for, to help them speak English during that time. So, what does this say up there? It says Summer School of English Language. So, English Summer School. And so, we'll get started into our little program. If it'll work, there we go. Okay. So, I would like to introduce to you two of the people that are very important to this school. These are the UKU, or Ukrainian Catholic University staff for English Summer School, Olenka and Tatiana. And I'm going to let Walter kind of go from here because there is a story about this.
My grandfather is Ukrainian, and after the fall of the communist government in 1991, I got to know my Ukrainian cousins, and we had various people come from Ukraine come, and the woman on your right there is Olenka, and she came to Muscatine in 2005. Well, a couple of years ago, she calls me out of the blue and says, "Walter, I've been trying to reach you and I couldn't find you, but we need volunteers for Ukrainian summer school. Will you come? When are you coming to Ukraine again?" I said, "Well, I'm not coming. You know, you guys got a war going on. You got a lot of things, and the last need you need to do is spend a lot of time babysitting old fogies." And she says, "Well, we really need teachers." I said, "Well, I'll be happy to come if you give me something to do. I just don't want to come as a tourist." And so I then sent it to the alumni thing, and then last year, John and Nick Schrader, who's back here, was there, and Gary Hughes was there for both summers. Gary was there, so he was. So we have two Epworth starting in 65 students, and two Epworth starting at 66 students went there. And needless to say, it was a very interesting experience. So, John?
It was. You want to talk about Drohobych?
Oh, yeah. This is the town where my relatives live. It's called Drohobych. It's south of Lviv. And let me see who's in the picture. There's John there, and my yeah, okay. We have here on one side is John, and then next to me is my cousin Roma Omelianin. Is that Gary there too?
Yeah, Gary.
And I don't know who's oh, that's Oksana.
Yeah.
And Oksana is my cousin's daughter. So she had spent some time in the United States, and she learned some English, but she was kind of tongue-tied. But John found a way to get her speaking English a lot more effectively.
Okay, yes, I did. Okay, so while we were in Drohobych, then we toured the city. We got to have our pictures taken in front of City Hall. Met a dear friend of Walter's, who is the deputy mayor of the city. And so we had a good time there. And if you you see the town square of Drohobych sign, and then me sitting in the symbol, that's a Ukrainian D or D for Drohobych. If you sit in that sign, you become a member of the city. So the story goes. So I decided I'd sit there. You'll also see on the upper left pictures of a wooden church which is in Drohobych. This particular church, St. Edward's?
I think
No,
it's St. George.
St. George. St. George. St. Edward's the other one. St. George was built without a single nail. Everything is wooden pegs and everything, and it's been standing there since, I don't know, Methuselah? Okay, for a long time. And in the lower left, you'll see me. I happened to meet some firefighters, and I'm a firefighter and a fire instructor, and so I had a good day talking with those guys. So The Ukrainian Catholic University is located in Lviv. Lviv is a city that is the third largest city in Ukraine. Yeah, suffice it to say it is third largest city. I can't remember the population, do you?
It's about the size, same size as Denver. It's pretty well-populated town. It also, they had a lot more nationalistic attitudes in the past than did the average Ukrainian. But that nationalism has kind of spread because for some reason they don't like the Russians. Someday somebody may help me and understand why. Lviv is on western Ukraine. It's
Yes.
about 50, 60 miles from the Polish border. If you go to the southeastern part of Poland and just cross the border, it's there. It's about, as I said, 50, 60 miles in.
And just to give you some relationship, on the western side of Ukraine, there are no battlefields that have lines with soldiers throwing bullets at each other. However, in all of Ukraine, they're still in danger of rocket and drone attacks. So they do have those in Lviv. But that being said, the western side of the country is relatively safe.
Yeah. People ask me, are you afraid to go there? You could get killed by a Russian rocket. And I said, I also could get killed by a drunk driver on the way to the airport. And, and probably the latter is the bigger danger.
Very true, very true. So this is just a picture of city center in Lviv that I happened to grab and throw in here. And so then we were operating at first, or to begin with, on the main campus of the Ukrainian Catholic University. And so this is just a couple of pictures of the main campus. It's a very modern campus, as you can see by the buildings. And one of the stories is that some of the buildings of this campus are built on top of the rubble that was left after the Soviets vacated the city and decided that the building that sat there should not stay standing because of the things you might find inside of it, because it happened to be their headquarters.
Yeah, and you also should be aware, Ukrainian Catholics, they are what they call Eastern Rite Catholic Church. They are in union with the Pope, but if you go into their service, it'll look very much like an Orthodox service. They follow the Orthodox type ritual, but they're very proud of their Catholic connection, and they were a particular target of Mr. Stalin and his successors. That whenever the Soviets would go into a part where there were Ukrainian Catholics, in fact, the Tsars, the first thing they do is try to suppress the Ukrainian Catholic Church. Right. But it survived many, many years of really bitter persecution.
Yes, and there are a whole list of martyrs that were Catholic priests and bishops, as well as lay people. The other thing that I wanted to mention, since he reminded me, is that in attending a Mass in Ukraine, if you go to a Ukrainian Catholic church, you can still figure out where you are, because Mass, folks, everywhere is the same. It's the same order. Even if they speak a different language, you know where you are. You know what part of the Mass you're at. So you can follow along. And so it was no problem to go to Mass. So I would like to introduce you to the staff for the English Summer School. You see Tatiana on the left and Olenka on the right. And then we had Katya, and help me out.
Tatiana Darina and, let's see,
Oksana.
Oksana, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so that's the staff who led us during our stay. And then the first thing that happened is we came there and went to orientation classes. So it was important for us to be put into the role that we needed to be for the English Summer School, because we didn't just go there to talk to people and visit. We actually went there to do a job. And so that's what the orientation was all about. And it did two things. It gave us an orientation giving the guidelines and the expectations and some suggestions for us as teachers, and it also did some team building.
And you look in the bottom right there, Roman Chapalo, he teaches part-time here. So he was one of our co-teachers there.
That is correct. There it goes. Okay, so when we finished with our orientation in Lviv at the UKU main campus, we went out to the suburb Bruchovici of Lviv, where we have the retreat center that the actual summer school occurs at. And so this is a picture of the English summer school residence and classroom area, and then the inset is the chapel that is inside that building. This is an idea of what our time was like. So we started, I already told you about orientation, and then we had English summer school for 2 weeks. And you see on their final test, yes, these students actually were graded for the work they did for us as teachers coming to the country. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the schedule. We did not go there to rest. We were up at 7:30 in the morning if we wanted to make it to liturgy on time, and then we would be busy until 11 o'clock at night when they had the great silence.
And the students were always eager to talk to us basically pump our brains for, and some of our brains, the pumping is worth more than others.
Every morning, we started with prayer announcements and the Ukrainian national anthem. So this is Gary Hughes, who was actually here last week, but could not make it this week. This is Gary Hughes's class of 2025 English summer school students. And I'm going to explain this thing to you a little bit more in a minute. And here is Walter with his group.
And I will add, if you look for the third from the left, the gal in black blouse, she's holding a picture, and that was because one of the students caught chicken pox and had to go home. So since we're taking a class picture, we took a picture of us and her picture.
This happens to be my group, and they were a remarkable group. I'll tell you a couple of stories about them in just a minute. But I also wanted to share with you, we don't have sound, but they are saying, happy anniversary, Mrs. On. Happy anniversary, Mr. John, because it happened to be my anniversary during the summer school, and they found out about it, and they said, hey, we want to do this, so they recorded that. What I wanted to show you next was Gary Hughes, and then Nick Schrader. So Nick, so everybody can see you?
Yeah.
Right. So Nick was there last year, and he co-taught a class with Gary Hughes, and this happens to be the class that they taught. I don't know, do you want to add anything, Nick? Sorry, I should have warned you. Okay. So I'm going to just put this slide up, but I'm not going to talk about it for a second because I need to tell you first that in the morning, we actually taught a group of students that were assigned to us for the entire 2 weeks. So in most cases, it was 10 people, sometimes 9, sometimes 11, but usually 10 people. And some of us had a co-teacher, some of us did not. And during that time, we were expected to help these students teach or learn and talk better English. One of the things my group happened to show to me early on was they had trouble with the W sound. would, with, where, all of those, which is very common for Ukrainians because they don't have a w sound. But they do have a v sound. And so they would say vud, vith, ver. So we actually did practice sessions during the first part of every morning's class so that to help them to learn how to say that word better as English speakers. And I want to thank my granddaughter and my daughter for sending me all kinds of drills that we could use. They happen to be teachers. So, okay, and then in the afternoon, we actually have a time which is called elective time or elective fun hour, which however you want to talk about it. During this time, the students have to go to one of these classes, but they can decide which one. In the morning, they're assigned. In the afternoon, they can choose. And these classes, as you can see, went from the idea of a lot of fun with just wiffle ball, ultimate frisbee, all kinds of different sport type of things like that. We had first aid for accidents and disasters. That happened to be the one that I did. And Walter, you did?
Contract bridge. I told them that, you know, your goal is to learn to play. You play for blood, but remember, it's only a game. We're still friends after we're done.
Yes. And last year you taught them?
Yeah.
Last year?
Last year I taught them, there was only one elective course, and I taught them an introduction to administrative law.
Right. So, okay. So last year I only had one class during the 2 periods, so 1 week. This year they had me do it for both weeks, so 2 sessions of this particular class. And they seem to have found it very helpful and useful. There also was choral groups where some of the teachers were musically inclined.
And also, if you were caught speaking English, you were assigned to have to give one of these entertainment presentations. So, you know.
And that's right here, Walter.
Nick? Oh, no, if they were caught speaking Ukrainian. Yeah, if you were caught speaking Ukrainian, you were given a yellow card, which you're showing there, and that meant at nighttime you had to give a presentation to atone for your sins.
Yes, yes, indeed. However, even though it was, quote, punishment, these students came around and gave us some very excellent entertainment. We also had different types of evening activities, including dancing, sitting around a bonfire and singing, sometimes just sitting around the bonfire. This year I was disappointed because last year there were some people that did fire jumping, which is a tradition in Ukraine, where the unmarried ladies would jump over a bonfire. This year they didn't do that, but but yeah, anyway, so these are some of the things that we do for entertaining activities in the evening.
Yeah. Now this is one I'm going to come in.
Yeah, go right ahead.
The bottom picture there, the gal on the right, she was a student. She wasn't in my class last year, but she was a student last year. And I kind of developed a bond with her, and her name was Irina Mala, and Mala in Ukrainian means little. And you may notice Irina is not particularly little, and but I would always call her Little Irene because I thought, you know, she'd enjoy that, which she did. Well, anyway, the other gal with her, the more dark-skinned gal on the left, she converted to Catholicism while she was going to UKU, and Irina there was her godmother. So it's not often you have a godmother the same age as you, but that was the case there. And I didn't meet the godfather, but I suspect he was probably also a student there. So that was an interesting thing about our stay there.
Right. One of the things that we do in the evening while we're there is we have a period of time where we as teachers make ourselves available to students, and any of the students can sign up to talk to any of the teachers. And so then we would just go someplace and sit and talk or walk and talk. We talked about all kinds of things. You know, they would ask about America, we would ask about Ukraine, And sometimes these got to be rather emotional.
Especially when they lost family in the
Yes.
current unpleasantries.
Yes. In fact, just so you know kind of how that goes, both last year and this year, I had students in my groups who had lost fathers in the war. This also happened to be the 30th anniversary for English Summer School, and so some of our mentors came back to help us. Now, mentors are UKU students who had already been through English Summer School who came in to help us teachers. They would be kind of the gophers, go find things, go get things. They were also the ones that kept track of attendance and did a myriad of things to help out the English Summer School staff. And these two gals up here were just amazing mentors for me in 2024. And they came back to say hi in 2025. During a break in the summer school activities, the school took the staff, the teachers, up to the Carpathian Mountains to a place called Tustan. Tustan is a fort, basically, that's in a pass, a high pass in the mountains of the Carpathians, and it controlled traffic going east and west across the Ukrainian Carpathian Mountains. It's an amazing fort. It was built to house both the soldiers and their families, because once they went there, they pretty much stayed. So English Summer School is a wonderful experience, and we would like to ask you, would you consider coming with us? Go ahead.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of what it is, you're gonna have to, if you want to come to us, please do talk to us. We'll be happy to tell you everything you know about it. You have to pay your own fare to and from, and that'll cost you roughly $1,500. And you have to pay your daily incidentals. In other words, you pay for your laundry, and if you want to go buy some toothpaste or something like that. But food and board while you're there is all covered by ESS. They don't pay you anything in cash, but I assure you, you feel like you've been enriched. Everyone who has been involved in this program has told me that it has really enriched their lives. So we solicit you to come and consider working for Ukrainian summer school, or English summer school at Lviv Ukrainian Catholic University next summer. It'll probably be roughly the first 2 weeks of June, with a preparation period before that. So you figure you're going to be gone from the United States about 3 weeks. So if any of you are interested after we get closed, John and I, and for that matter, I assume Nick, will be happy to talk to you about our experience and why we'd love to have you come join us.
Right.
Because these are brave people. They're in a terrible situation, not of their making. And I just feel a strong attachment to them and helping them in this terrible time they're going through.
I went to English Summer School last year, not knowing what to expect whatsoever. All I know is that, hey, you know what? I've seen all these calls to go to a mission someplace, and I've always had some excuse, either work or whatever else, and didn't go. And decided that, yeah, this is a little dangerous, but I'm going to do it this time. And I will admit to you that it took me probably a week or two to actually decide, yes, I'm going to do this. And then it took me another 2 weeks to get my wife to agree. But at any rate, after I came back, I realized that I was changed. There was something about me that had changed just simply because of this experience. And it was a good change. And I think it was something that I needed in my life. So this is actually the first of 2 presentations that you're going to see, possibly 4, but 2. This particular one involved Nick and Gary and Walter and I. And so we'll take a break here. You got the mic up? We'll take a break here in case anybody wants to ask about English summer schools particularly and our travels to Ukraine. The next presentation is a trip that I did and I'll tell you all about that and the reasons after that, okay? So, any questions? Diane?
Were you guys the only people doing this, or were there people from other parts of the, or affiliation? Or were there other people who are affiliated with Divine Word or somewhere?
No, we were the only Divine Word people there, other than Roman Chapalo, who teaches here part-time. But the other people were from all over the country, with some had connections to Ukraine, others were just on a lark.
How many teachers? I think that would help.
Yeah, I think we had about 20, 25 teachers maybe.
Yeah.
So we were just, Gary, John, and I this year, we were 3 of roughly 25.
Right.
But they're always looking for good people because, and I think they think that Divine Word people, you know, all considered usually are better than the average person you pick up at a local bar.
And while Walter says that the way that he does, it is actually true. I've heard them say that. And we had people there not only from the United States, but also from the United Kingdom, from Australia, and I guess those were the main ones in the last.
And the one from United Kingdom ran a poker course.
Oh, my goodness.
His elective was poker, and I had this hat that said World Poker Tour, and my spouse absolutely hates that hat. And so I took it with me to Ukraine, and the possibility if I'm going to lose this hat, this is probably the one she'll want me to lose. Well, he saw the hat, loved it, and I gave it to him, and my wife is still grateful that he relieved me of the World Poker Tour hat.
Yes, and he was teaching his poker class next door to my first aid class, and sometimes it was kind of hard for us to hear each other in my class because they got pretty competitive.
And I had my class singing next to John's class, and it was probably, I would assume it was pretty disconcerting on occasion.
Nick, you were going to say something? Wait, hold on. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment that I thought part of the answer to her question would be how many teachers. And so we took care of that.
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Nick. Anybody else? Yeah, yeah.
How many young men were in the classes?
Not too many. There were young men in the class. We had more, I think, last year, John, wouldn't you say? More men
There were more
year?
last year,
Yeah.
I think, than this year. Yes.
It was, if you consider them to be our staff was predominantly distaff.
Yes.
But in my class, I had like 9 girls and 1 boy.
Right.
But they were, all of them were wonderful.
Yeah.
I just can't say is too much for them.
And I happen to have 4
Rick?
boys and 5 girls. I will tell you at this time, at this break, that in Ukraine, if you're male and 18 years old or older, you may not leave the country. I understand that they are changing that just recently, but that is the case. You're not drafted, however, until you're 25.
They want the men to father children before they get drafted because they're having a population problem and also a great population exodus. There are a lot of Ukrainians all over Western Europe and all sorts of other places, and they want to keep the nation together as much as possible.
Walter, how long have these students studied English, and how proficient are they? So is your job really to just immerse them in English?
Can I start that?
Sure, go ahead, John.
In Ukraine, the government actually wants everybody to learn English. Right. Now they know that a lot of the population is probably not going to. However, in grade school, they are teaching English to all of the students in grade schools. Now, at UKU, before they get to the English summer school, it's usually 2 to 3 semesters of college-level English. Go ahead.
So you don't have to be an ESL teacher already. You just really need to know English and be able to converse with these students and spend the day.
And we'd find unique ways to do it. Like one of the things I did with my class is I told them, you're going to all come visit me in Iowa, and you're going to pick a place in Iowa you want to go to. And so they'd go to tourist sites, Iowa Tourism or whatever, and each of them would say, well, I'm going to take you to see the Field of Dreams or whatever, you know, and explain it. So it was conversational. They have a system over there where they rate you by a letter and a number. A1 is the lowest. That's just a mere tyro. A2 is somebody who can, kind of like my Ukrainian. My Ukrainian's A2. You know, it's I can get by a discussion, in a minimal discussion. I can ask where the bathroom is and ask, you know, how much I have to pay you for this beer or whatever. But beyond that, I get kind of you know, beyond my depth. A B1, B2 is higher, and when you reach the C level, that means you're pretty well fluent.
Right.
And I was assigned the ones with the lowest. I had several A2 type people in my class and said B1s. But even they were speaking and conversing in English very well by the end of
Right.
the 2 weeks.
Right. And I had similar A2 and
What you
B1.
do is very valuable, and not only that, it's valuable to you afterwards. But I mean, it's really valuable. They're having a chance to talk to you all day long in English, and you're having that chance to interact with them.
Yeah.
So it's really, as Father said, it's a mission as well. This is a unique mission.
Yeah, because what you know, they're realizing we're coming on our own dime. We don't ask them for, and we won't accept any gratuities. Now, sometimes they'll give us a shirt or something, like the class will buy a shirt for you, but you know, you're going to spend a lot more money than you're going to get there. So they, you know, they very much appreciate our coming.
Yes. Remember, Ukrainians really believe that of the many things that they have to do in order to rebuild their country after the war has ended, then one of them is to be able to speak English well.
Ukraine has, since the end of the communist government, they've had 3 battles they've had to fight. The first, obviously, is against Russia's revanchist efforts. The second is they have to fight against corruption, because the Soviet system was incredibly corrupt. And they'd have to learn a new way of operating. So the third thing they had to learn was their battle against the old way of thinking. That, you know, this is the way it is, this is the way it's always going to be, and there's no way we can change this because the powers above us don't listen to us and they only do what they want. And I think Ukraine is well on its way to winning all 3 of those battles. And if I and John and Nick have added anything to that fight, we feel like we've done the Lord's work.
Okay, anybody else? All right, very good.
Well,
I
thank
will
you.
tell you a little, oh, did you want to say something before?
John, you're on now.
Okay,
Just,
I'm going to tell you just,
Can I just
oh,
add one thing?
one more
I mean,
question, sure, absolutely.
just that you know that Divine Work Missionaries, we work in Ukraine as well, okay?
Yes.
We have 3 SVDs that work in the Ukraine.
Oh,
this is, I
not
think,
just SVD
important.
fathers.
Is-
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
SPS sisters there.
as well, yes.
Yes,
Have any touch with them? No?
yes, I'm going to tell about that.
Okay, great, good.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story while she gets my next presentation up, and that is that when I decided to go to Ukraine this year for the English summer school, I got to thinking that, you know, if I'm going to keep working with Ukrainians, I should probably be able to speak Ukrainian more than just, you know, hello and thank you. And so I also signed up for the Ukrainian language and culture school at the university. And that particular school started 1 week after the English summer school. And so I was going to have a week of free time which could have been really kind of fun. I could have wandered around Lviv doing whatever. I could have sat in my room at UKU because they provided me with a private room and that kind of thing. But I decided I really wanted to try and do something more. And so you're going to hear about a town called Shohorad. You can see it up on the screen in both Ukrainian and English. And a parish there called St. Florian, and 19 through 14-year-old children who want to also learn better English. Okay, and so what happened was that oh, hang on. Might be that I'm pressing it wrong. Oh, there we go. Now we went too far. Okay. Well, that's supposed to fade in, but that's all right. We'll work it. Okay? So what happened is that I was looking for a way to spend that week in a profitable manner for both myself and the Ukrainians, mostly the Ukrainians. And I happened to see in Divine Word Missionaries, Mission Magazine, an article about the Year of Hope during the war in Ukraine, and it featured a Holy Spirit sister, Sister Marta Marie. She works in Kyiv at a shelter for homeless people after they've been bombed out of their homes. And so she runs a shelter there to give them a place to stay until they can find more permanent places. So I, through Sandy, contacted her and found out that the week that I wanted to come up and help her, that she would really love to have me come, but she wasn't going to be there. In fact, they were closing down the shelter for a short time to do some renovations or whatever, and also for the nuns to go back to Poland for retreat. And so that was not going to work, and she said, I have an alternative for you. And then she introduced me to Sister Ludmila, who's in the picture at the bottom of the screen. Sister Ludmila is a Holy Spirit sister, but she was on leave in order to help care for her father who has cancer. Her home parish and the family home is in Shohorad. And so she got a hold of me and said, you know, I help at the parish to teach our children English. And the children are between the ages of 9 to 14. Would you be willing to come and help with that? And I said, sure. And at the time, I didn't know where Shohorad was. I didn't know what it would be like teaching these children or anything. But I just said, sure, let's do this. And so now I had something to do during that week. Oh, okay. Sorry. There. Now we get it. We're back on track. Thank you. Okay. And so now, I went to Shohorad, which is in the central part of the country, and we'll show you that. Actually, that was at the first slide, wasn't it? Yeah, was it? Okay. Let's go back there. Can you take me to the first slide? That'd be easier for you. Yeah, right there. There we go. Okay. So that little yellow highlighting that you see south of Venetia, that's where Shohorad is. Okay? So a little bit ways into the country. And in fact, from Lviv, it's a 6-hour train ride to Shmarinka and a 1-hour car ride from Shmarinka down to Shohorad. So that is where I ended up going. And just so the actual battle lines are on the east side, so I was still a ways away from that. And the parish there is called St. Florian Roman Catholic Church, not even the Greek Orthodox Church. This parish is operated by the Franciscan Fathers, OSF, and they have a monastery there, and the abbot is the pastor of the parish. They have several satellite parishes also. And the school, the Catholic education school, is run by the Benedictine nuns. So now we have SVDs, SPS, OSF, and Benedictines. So you can see how we all work together. So here's where the religious education building is, and you can kind of see the monastery. The convent is around the corner, kind of where those cars are parked, and so that's where the Benedictines stay. This is the primary group that I worked with while I was in Shohrad. On my right is Father Pascalis. Father Pascalis is the abbot at St. Florian. And then Sister Ludmilla and Sister Laura. Sister Laura is the Benedictine sister who was in charge of the religious education program. Okay, and in most cities in Ukraine, the children are taught during the day in the public schools, but then they are able to come to religious education afterwards. And so that's how they operate the religious education program. So this is a collage that Sister Laura put together for me and gave it to me on my last day. I didn't know she was doing all this, but she took some pretty cool pictures, and I know it might be hard for some of you to see, and so I've got my computer here. We can set it up and you can look at it more closely if you would like to. But the words across the top say, in Ukraine with love, and then the orange is the sign that's on the outside of their building, which says Nazareth Children's Center. So, I had children who were 9 years old through 14 years old, and at varying levels of English capability. So with the younger ones and the ones with less English capability, what I would usually do would be to start the day with a letter. I would put the letter up on the whiteboard there, and then I would ask the children to tell me all the words they know that start with that letter. And once they've put some words up there, we'd pick some of them out and ask them to make some kind of a sentence in English. And of course, I'm speaking English. The children know very little English, but they do know Ukrainian. Sister Ludmilla was an interpreter for me, as well as Father Pascalis. And then in the second week, we had a parish member who came over to help us out. Her name was Olena. The older children, I would give them a picture, or I would write a sentence in English and ask them to complete a paragraph. And with the picture, they had to tell a story in English, and then of course I would help them out as we went along. And they did really, really well. And of course, some were further along than others, and so we would help each other out. And then on the left picture, that's shortly after I had arrived, Father Pascalis and Sister Ludmilla posed with me outside the monastery, saying, yep, John's here. And in the center picture, this is the person I was telling you about, Olena, who helped us out with translations during classes. Olena herself is an ex-teacher, and she actually taught English. However, she got a better offer, kind of like our teachers here in the United States. So she's working for a corporation, and not only that, but with her job, she's allowed to work from home. So what are you going to do? She has flexibility, and she's very active in the parish, so she came over to help us out. Now, while we were there, Father Pascalis and I ended up being best buddies, and we are continuing that now through the Ethernet, or the internet and the ether waves. That's what I meant. And Father Pascalis and I spent evenings into the late hours sometimes, just having a conversation, just talking. It was great fun, and I think he appreciated it, and I certainly did as well. During one of those conversations, he asked me about different foods and so on, wanted to know what my favorites are, and somehow or another asked me if I had ever had shashlik, which happens to be a Ukrainian shish kebab, I guess you would call it. And I said, no, I never had. So like 2 days later, I get a knock on my door. I was up there after class, just kind of chilling for a few minutes, And I get a knock on the door, and he says, "Hey, John, can you come with me?" Sure. He takes me down to the courtyard, and they're all set up to do shashlik. And so I just joined in and helped them make it. And by the way, it's my new favorite Ukrainian food. Okay. There we go. While I was there, Father Pascalis learned that I was a member of the Knights of Columbus. And so he says, "We have a Knights of Columbus Council here also." And he hastily gathered some men together. So one evening, we got together with the KCs that were available at St. Ludmilla Parish. And this is one of the pictures that we took for a pose. The statue of St. Florian does not usually sit in front of the altar. It sits over in an alcove, but Father says, "Oh, we have to have this in the middle." He goes over and grabs this thing and carries it over and puts it down there for our picture. And then, of course, the Knights brought out the picture of Father McGivney, who happens to be the founder of the Knights of Columbus. And these Knights, by the way, and I have started a program for the Knights of Columbus in Hiawatha, where I belong, to try and have a relationship where we keep in touch with each other, say prayers for each other, and just generally work together as sort of sister councils. And so that's just, we're still feeling our way through on how exactly this is going to work, but that's just starting. Now, look around the parish church here. Look around the chapel. You see the Stations of the Cross, right? Any church, any Catholic church you've been in, you have the Stations of Cross around the outside of the church, right? They also have that in Ukraine and in Shohrad at St. Florian's Parish. But they went one more step. They made Stations of the Cross outside that range across 3 kilometers. And these are pictures of a few of them. They took me on a tour of all 14, so if you really want to see them, I have pictures of all 14. But this is one of the things that makes St. Florian a little famous. In fact, periodically, there are pilgrimages where people will come to St. Florian's to follow the way of the cross here. And they actually call it the Crossroads, which comes from the name that's given in Jerusalem as well. I have a book. Is it in the back, I think? Yeah. And if anybody wants, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Okay. And that explains it. The only thing is, if you want to read any of it, you got to know either Ukrainian or Polish. But you can see the pictures, and they pretty well tell the story. And it's back there. You're welcome to look at it. Of those Knights of Columbus, 2 of them lost their sons to the war. And as you can see here, the graves are extremely well tended, right? The family members come back and take care of it all the time, fresh flowers. There's pictures of the lost soldier usually on the tombstone. You can see it's pretty special, right? And they very much honor their fallen soldiers. An interesting thing about Ukraine is that if there's a funeral procession going through the streets, everybody stops, and I mean everybody. The buses stop, the taxis stop, people on the sidewalks stop, and they face the procession until it's by. Many people will get on their knees. Some people will also be doing the sign of the cross. An extreme amount of respect in Ukraine for their sacred dead. Another thing you'll find in Ukraine if you stay there for a while, as I did, is that at 9 o'clock every morning, everybody stands and has a moment of silence. And so in the cafeteria at the university, there's a chime that rings out. Everybody hears it. Oh yeah, 9 o'clock. They all stand up. The servers stop serving. everybody stands for that moment of silence. If you happen to be in a taxi driving down the street to get someplace else in Lviv or any place in Ukraine, at 9 o'clock, traffic stops dead. And they stop for a full minute. And then they just resume. You know, if your car happens to be at a traffic light and it's green, but it's 9 o'clock, you're still going to stop there. That's how it is in Ukraine. Sister Ludmila brought me to Shorhorod. Sister Ludmila, a Holy Spirit sister, sisters who are our, sister organization? And so it's part of the divine word. She brought me to Shorhorod. And then in Shorhorod, I met a whole ton of new friends. Many new friends, young and older. Friends that I want to visit again. So I plan, if I go back to the English Summer School next year, which I really plan on doing, to also go to Shorhorod again. It was that great. So I have one request of you, and that is to please pray for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Notice, I'm asking for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. And so I appreciate it if you would do that and keep the Ukrainians in your prayers. These are wonderful people. These people are the type of people that will help you anytime you need it. You don't have to ask. But suddenly, somebody decided that they wanted to bully them, and they decided that they have backbone, strength, resilience. They're standing up to them. So, our help is needed. Please continue to think about that. And then I have at the bottom, thank you. I can say that after questions, though. So go ahead. Oh, okay. Does anybody have any questions about my trip to Shorhorod? Okay, probably covered it all on the first one, right? All right. So at the bottom, I have in English, thank you very much for allowing me to share with you today, which in Ukrainian is Dakayu Shosho. Dozvolili meni politiacja ze wami sohodni, which I slaughtered, but it was not too bad. Okay.
Well, a round of applause for John and Walter. Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
And don't forget Nick.
Oh, Nick too. That's right.
Yes.
Nick also went with them. So
And Gary
thank
in
you.
absentia.
Gary Hughes as well.
Yes,
So
and-
as they have requested, let us stand and let us say a Hail Mary to pray for Ukraine and all the people in Ukraine, okay? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Loving God, we gather here together as people of peace. The people in Ukraine and many parts of the world are suffering. We ask you to grant them peace, true peace. And so through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, we say together, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. And so our next activity is a banquet at 6 o'clock in the main dining room. So you have some time for restroom and break a little bit. So 6 o'clock, come in and take any seat in the dining room. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and we will be around to talk